Tell me how this makes sense. The truth, I lost 60 to 70 pounds on my own and then was diagnosed with diabetes. I can't explain what or why. I can explain how I lost that weight. That I know for a fact. I can't explain why I didn't lose weight when I was taking that medicine. You fight the battle at the gym, but you win the war at the kitchen table. I had a goal to ride a motorcycle, which my wife and son do not like at all. And some of my dear closest friends I love are upset with me that I got back to riding motorcycles. 240 pounds, and I had people telling me, you're going to get too thin. Stop going to the gym. You're working out too much. You're going to get too thin. You're going to look like you're going to blow away. Look, at 240 pounds, I looked like I was going to blow away. You take yoga, it will help you 100% with motorcycle riding. So please don't think that this is an ego trip for me, that look at me, I'm perfect, look what I did. I'm not doing that. Marauders, welcome back to the channel. Over the last 8 years, but specifically the last 3 years, I've been asked, had so many comments, commenting how much better I look, that I've lost weight, how people are positive comments about my changing my lifestyle to a healthier lifestyle, and many, many comments of support. And so many of you have asked me how I've lost weight. And although I'm not in perfect shape, I'm far from perfect shape. You've asked me how I got in the shape I'm in. We'll leave it at that. Not perfect shape, not even great shape, but better shape than I was in, physical shape than I was in, which has affected me mentally also. And I've promised for the last 2 years that I would do a video talking about it. In this video, I am going to tell you my story of how I lost over 100 pounds, specifically to ride motorcycles. The last 40 pounds was specifically to ride this motorcycle off-road. I'll tell all of how I came from weighing 350 pounds to a low of 222 pounds, and then to my current weight, which is about 238 pounds. In my story of overcoming some injuries along the way and illnesses, and I'll share that with you. And I'm hoping that it will inspire you to set a goal and not necessarily lose weight. It's not about being thin, but maybe it's about getting healthier and being happier, a better lifestyle. So I'm going to share my story with you, and hopefully it will encourage you. Inspire would be a big word to use, but let's use inspire you to set a goal for yourself for a healthier lifestyle and helping you to achieve it. I'll talk about, let's start where I was a little over 8 years ago. So 8 years ago, I was in my early 50s. I was touching 350 pounds. I've shrunk over the years. At one time I was 6'3". I'm barely hanging on to 6'1". In these boots, I'm probably 6'2" in this video. At one time when I was lifting, in college, I was wearing a 59, and we'll give you the facts where I started. When I was lifting in college, I probably had a 38, 40-inch waist, and my chest was big. I wore actually a 58, 59-inch suit coat that they used to tailor down. So I was very broad during my college years and early 20s, and I was really into lifting free weights. And I was probably hovered around 255 to 265 pounds. And I never in my life have done any sort of illegal drug. Never. They say that the growth period in men, where men really reach their peak physically, is in their early 20s. I believe that to be true, because that certainly was when I was probably my most muscular. To give you an idea of how muscular I was, I think I was benching 325. I didn't think I did it for 4 sets. And I was pressing over 200 pounds on a bench, Olympic bar. Those were my shoulder presses, with sitting. So that's where I was in my early 20s. And then through a period of time, I got married, and I physically did a lot of work. I built a house for my wife and I. And when I was working on that house, all my energy was focused on that house every weekend, every night, building that house. And I was doing a lot of the work myself. And I wasn't going to the gym. I was eating pizza at the house, chicken wings, pasta, cookies, keep my energy up. And I probably gained weight on my midsection, and definitely was about 270 in my late 20s and 30s. I played all sorts of sports when I was younger, but I was a pretty good tennis player, and I was playing tennis at the time. And so I was doing some exercising at the time and staying active. When I was 27 years old, had some issues in my life, went back to the gym hard. This was before children. Had some major issues in my life. And I really focused on the gym. Actually, I went every day during lunch to the gym. And I had gotten down to 220 pounds and did not have a 56-inch chest. I probably had like a 48, probably close to the same diameter chest I have now. And I lost 40, 50 pounds in that period, which people were amazed by. And I had some issues in my life at that time. And I had lost a lot of weight. So I knew in my late 20s what it was like to lose over 50 pounds and get very much in shape. I was running at that time. I was not running marathons, but I could easily run slowly, 5 miles, 6 miles, 7 miles. Doing the stair-risers were big, if that's what they call them. I might be calling it wrong. Stairmaster, I think they called it in the gym. Doing that, doing free weights, doing machines. And then we started having children, and I couldn't go to the gym as much. I focused on my business, and I started to gain weight. And when I started to gain weight, I went back up to slowly, right? 260, 265, 270. Started having kids that was having kids. Probably got up to about 280 pounds. Tried to make a comeback in the gym in my I would say mid 40s. I ripped up my shoulders because I could, at one time, believe it or not, at one time I could do 50 dips in my 20s, and I tried to get to 50 dips in my 40s, and I just damaged my shoulders, and I was probably over 30 dips, damaged at 200, pressing 265, which is stupid, lifting my body 265 pounds, dumb. I did so many dumb things in the gym, it's a wonder I can't even walk. So in my 40s, I'm 60 now, in my 40s, I did start to get in shape again. I did hit it in the gym, and I was kind of getting back in the gym, still too heavy, 265, 270. And in my early 50s, I'd say that was late 40s, in my early 50s, I totally ruptured my right Achilles tendon on a tennis court. It was the last point of the last game of the last set. Totally ruptured it. And when that happened, I was at the baseline. It was a drop shot at the net, and I was fast. Even at that weight, I was pretty quick for a big guy. And I sprinted to the front to grab that drop shot and almost got the drop shot. My Achilles tendon let loose, totally ruptured. It felt like a spring let loose in my body. And my teeth clicked, and my head felt like it was going to be pushed off my shoulders, and they heard it 3 courts away. They heard my Achilles tendon break, and before I hit the ground, I knew I broke my Achilles tendon. One of the most painful injuries, but I could feel it, hear it, And before I hit the ground, I knew I broke my Achilles tendon. Guys came up to me, what happened? Instantly, I broke my Achilles tendon. So that put me really further behind in my weight. I probably ballooned, and ballooned is a good word to use, being on crutches for months it seemed, and just not being active. I probably went up to at least 300 pounds and over 300 pounds. So even on crutches, I was active, but not active enough to burn real calories off to lose weight. And again, the crutches, I believe, with my weight, further tore up my shoulders. I'm trying to give you a background on my injuries and how I gained weight. Because I think many of you fall into that category. We just, life events. Someone once told me, my friend Rory, that you know, some things in our lives don't change our lives, but they color our lives. And building a house, getting married, losing focus on my health, taking care of my children, sitting at a desk all day, and then going out and being a tennis court warrior. By the way, I should add to that fact that part of the reason I tore my Achilles tendon on the tennis court was, at the time I was working as a deputy, reserve deputy with the sheriff's department office, we call it in our county, sheriff's office at the Bills games, and did a lot of running around and a huge brawl at the end. Actually, the police officers were attacked and had to rescue one of our guys. But that game, and I didn't know it at that time, but at that football game, both my Achilles tendons were sore. And when your tendons are sore, we know this now when we lift weights, you have little tears in your tendons, right? And they were very sore. This game was a Sunday. The Monday after the game, they were very sore. So then on a Thursday, I'm running around a tennis court and it let go. I'm done. Fast forward from the Achilles tendon injury to built another house. This house where I'm at now had a fairly large lot, let's say 5 acres. And I poured myself into working on this property, and probably building another house, doing all the site work myself, the site clearing, doing some of the finished carpentry, prepping for the concrete around the house. So I built another house, this house that you've seen on my channel. And again, further got out of shape. Wasn't acting enough working on the house to stay in shape, and gained probably 330. Was on my way to 350 pounds. Shouldn't say working on it, building the house. Let alone, and we make all sorts of excuses, right? We eat because we're stressed. We eat because, you know, we don't have time. We don't have time to work out, right? I'm too busy at work. I'm too busy at home. Too busy with my kids. We think of all sorts of reasons why we don't have the time to work out, why we don't have the time to eat healthy. And I was one of those. I think a lot of people do it, and I definitely did it. It wasn't a priority. I really feel bad for my wife that I was that much out of shape. She's beautiful. And I really feel bad for my wife and kids that I was out of shape when they were younger. I can't reverse that. But just for you, you might want to consider it if you have young kids. Touching 340, over 340, on my way to 350. Was 350, 348, 340, and I don't weigh myself every day at that time, but I'm sure I'm that big. And I started riding, I started the channel about that time. I started riding more off-road at that time. Always was riding off-road for the last, well, when I was a kid, definitely. And then probably since 2001, I was riding ATVs off-road. I purchased a Can-Am Defender, which really was their mud Defender. I want to say XMR, if that's the right term. A Can-Am Defender XMR, which is, it looks like a huge, a big side-by-side, and I'll show a video of what I looked like that really had me looking at my stomach. I was installing a bumper on it in my garage. My son was helping me and my friend, engineer Dave. And I'm editing the video several months after I'd purchased this machine, and I really started to work more on my property without my tractor, but use this machine because it has a dump bed in it to do trees and trimming and so on my property. And I couldn't believe how big my stomach was in the video. And I'll insert a short clip of when I was editing the video months later. And I was like astonished that my stomach was that big. And I had to be probably wearing 44-inch, 46-inch jeans at the time, or pants. And my stomach was overhanging the belt in the video. And I looked at my stomach, and it wasn't as big as the video I did 2 or 3 months ago. I was editing it. And I looked at my stomach in the video and then in my chair when I was editing. And I said, geez, I think I lost weight. And I had lost weight just by being more active during the winter around my property. And I must have been eating less and not focusing on it. And I ran up and weighed myself, and I was touching 350. And I weighed myself, and I was 300, maybe I lost 20 pounds. I was 325, 326. I was like, holy crap. I lost that weight just by being more active. And I started to set a goal that if I lose 60 pounds, I'm going to buy a sports car, a convertible, a Corvette, a Porsche or something. My wife had been telling me I should lose weight. I knew I should lose weight. I'm going to set a goal. If I lose 60 pounds, if I get to 280, 260, if that sounds, 270, I'm going to buy some type of sports car. I don't know how I'm going to pay for it. I'm going to buy it, right? I'll sell a tractor or something. I don't know. So that was my goal. And then shortly into, we got an elliptical, started using the elliptical. I had some dumbbells. I started using the dumbbells up in our bonus room. And gradually the weight started to come off. And then I said to myself, I was riding more and more off-road in this Can-Am Defender XMR. And I said, I told my friend, engineer Dave, why don't we ride? I used to ride a little bit of off-road with him on motorcycles. Why don't we ride motorcycles again, off-road? And he's much smaller than I am. I think he was looking at 80cc to 100cc bikes. I was looking at 250, 350, 4-stroke motorcycles, Husqvarna. And we thought, and then I really started to focus on my eating, and I started exercising more. I had this goal. I was going to ride motorcycles again. I'm 8 years ago this is, so I was 52, and I had stopped riding. My wife asked me to when I was in my early 20s, 22. And after 30 years, I thought, I'm going to start riding off-road. And I was away in Ohio on a business trip, and my friend Dave had picked up his motorcycle and was practicing on it on one of my pieces of property, my farm, well, we don't farm it, but it was a farm, about 15, 20 minutes here where I hunt. And he was practicing on that bike and fell and broke, I don't know if it was 3 ribs or 5 ribs, and punctured his lung and was really a mess from this fall. Really a mess. Now he was probably close to 60 when he fell. And he encouraged me at that time, don't get a motorcycle. His wife didn't want it. We were too old. We're going to get hurt. Don't buy a motorcycle. And right or wrong, at the time I listened to him. And I actually paid. I had a bike held for me at a dealership, and I paid the dealer a deposit. I didn't have a deposit on it, but I felt so bad. He held a bike for me, not long, 3 or 4 days. I gave him several $100s, and he was grateful. It was a good walk away from it after I said I was going to buy this bike. And it was a Husqvarna 350. I call it a woods bike, not a motocross bike, but just a bike to ride around the woods. I don't remember what model it is. That was the start. That was when it started 8 years ago that I wanted to get back on a motorcycle. Was more interested in motorcycles than I was in a Corvette or a Porsche or some type of convertible. I was more interested in motorcycles than I was in a car. And 8 years ago, I started eating less and less. Not starving myself, but it started with just when I went out to dinner. I live in Buffalo, New York, and we have some of the best restaurants in the United States, frankly, in my opinion. But they overserve you from what we should be eating. So I started eating until I was just starting to get full, which worked out to typically being half my portions. And I would do that at home. I was eating far less at home, eating half of what I previously ate. And if I was out to dinner, I was always usually order a vegetable. I would eat my vegetable first, try to always have a salad. Really, I didn't drink a lot of pop, didn't drink a lot of alcohol. I'm not a beer drinker. My problem is pasta, pizza, and chicken wings, and lack of activity at the time. And I started to shed even more weight. And pretty soon I was at 300 and going below 300 pounds. So now I was getting very close to my 60 pounds. Actually, I was probably touching the 60 pounds I wanted to lose. And I shouldn't say that. I lost over 60 pounds. I was about 270, 265. Still had too much here on my body. And I decided that I was really in tune. I think I bought a bench. I sold, decades before, I sold my Olympic weight sets. I vowed I'd never join a gym again. And I did buy a dumbbell set, and I did buy a bench, and I started working out with the dumbbells along with the elliptical machine, better set of dumbbells that I had, adjustable. I can't remember the name brand I bought. Yeah, and I started hitting the weights probably 2 to 3 times a week, and then doing the treadmill, interchanging the two. And I started to get around 265 pounds, and I was diagnosed with diabetes. And that really threw me for a loop when I was diagnosed with diabetes, because my eyesight, I'm a shooter. I was a certified law enforcement firearms instructor. And in New York State, that your eyes, if you're a shooter, your eyes are very important for your sight alignment and sight picture. And not to mention just in general, your eyes are important. So I was diagnosed with diabetes. And of course, the doctor put me on metformin. By the way, I don't want to say I was depressed, but I was not happy about it, because my father was a type 2 diabetic and my brother Paul was a type 2 diabetic. They also put me on Trulicity, and which it does help some people lose weight. And I was on Trulicity. And Trulicity definitely affected my taste. I wasn't really into chicken a lot. Fish, my taste buds would change. I couldn't eat steak. I could eat steak. It definitely had effect on my taste. In that, I was still doing my elliptical, still doing my dumbbells, still working around the property, still the same eating habits. Then the doctor moved me to Ozempic, which can help you with your weight loss. And I'm not telling you not to take these drugs for weight loss. I was a diabetic and my doctor prescribed them for my diabetes. I'm not telling you not to take them. I'm not telling you to take them. I do believe they help some people. I will tell you, then my doctor, and the problem with Trulicity and Ozempic was my energy level was very low with those. I just did not have energy. I would eat fruit and drink juice before I went out and worked on my property. And I did not like those drugs. And some people, they react differently for everyone. And then a friend of mine, Dr. Joe, recommended Mounjaro. And my doctor put me on Mounjaro. Hope I'm pronouncing it right. And I really like Mounjaro because my energy levels were consistent. I didn't have that feeling of low energy and fatigue. So I didn't have that feeling of low energy and fatigue. Food tasted better to me. I was actually eating more on Mounjaro. I was eating more chicken, more fish. By the way, at one point I couldn't eat chicken wings, which I love chicken wings. I couldn't eat chicken wings, couldn't stand the smell of them. Then I got hit with COVID. That screwed up my taste buds. Some people think, I shouldn't say that. Let me back up. I had COVID before I was diagnosed with diabetes, and then was diagnosed with diabetes shortly after COVID. And a friend of mine, Eva, still believes, she's very smart, she has a medical background, she still believes COVID had something to do with being diagnosed with diabetes. Forgot to mention that. I got things a little out of order. So now I think I probably had long COVID, and I've gotten COVID a couple times during the course of this. This is a journey. It's a long one. I'll try to summarize it. Now I'm 265, let's say. Diabetic. I have long COVID. I'm trying to get in better shape. Still thinking about riding a motorcycle. Want to lose more weight to ride a motorcycle. I lose my left knee. I was admiring my work on the other side of my property, and I got out of my Ranger, walked 8 feet to the tree, check it out, turned to walk back. I couldn't walk back. I had half my knee was bone on bone, half my knee. The bone hasn't wearing, but I had from that, I forgot to mention, I also had a torn meniscus, which was a result of working the Bills games for the sheriff's office. So I fell at the sheriff's games. That's a story in itself. See if I tell that later. Anyways, now I struggled to walk with my knee. I struggled to get back to my Ranger to drive to my house. I was on a cane and then crutches. It was borderline, it was half my knees, still bone on bone. And I don't know if they call it, I bruised the end of my bones. Maybe Dean says I'm jumping in and out of my track loader, which he could be right. I bruised the tips of my two bones, my calf bone and my thigh bone. I bruised the tips of those. I don't know if they call it bone edema or not. So now the tips of my bones are bruised, right? And I did a video on this. And it was very painful. And over a period of probably 6 weeks, that pain decreased. And then I started seeing my doctor, Cindy. I saw experts on a knee replacement. I was almost going to have him replace it. She started doing gel injections, a little bit more into my routine. I was feeling better. In May of 2024, I told my wife I wanted to start riding motorcycles again. Let's say I was 265, 268, and I was looking better. My workouts here were paying off. And I bought my Ducati Multistrada. See if I have a picture I can put up of that bike. And I bought this bike. This I received before I got the Ducati Multistrada V4 Rally, and I got this bike. And I took it to Allegheny Forest with trail rangers, great group of guys. They were all on ATVs. I was on this motorcycle. I rode 18 miles on Timberline Trail, Allegheny National Forest, Pennsylvania. And I was exhausted. I was over gripping the bike. I was over gripping the grips on the bike. I wasn't slipping the clutch. The throttle on this monster, even before the tune, was ultra sensitive. my core, my body and my legs were not nearly as strong as they should be to ride this bike. I could only stand up on the bike. Boy, these bar risers are great. I could only stand up on the bike. I don't even think a minute. I couldn't stand on the bike. And the first day I did 18 miles on the trail. The second day we spent the night in Bradford. And the second day I rode 10 miles on a trail. I can't remember the name of the trail we rode. I did a video, posted a video on that ride. After that trip, I said to myself, I thought I was in decent shape. I was not, and this is 2 years ago, coming up on 2 years ago, I said, I am not in good enough shape to ride off-road. And I said, told myself, I had to join a gym. I had to do it. I wanted to ride this beautiful bike off-road. And I knew that I wasn't, 58 years old. I wasn't in good enough shape to ride it. I had to work on my leg strength, had to work on my core. And I joined a gym. And I looked at Planet Fitness. I looked at another gym. I won't mention the name because it's been purchased by the gym I joined. I joined Catalyst Gym. I think their newest gym, probably their newest gym, their biggest gym. And a friend of mine, Arthur, who's been a mentor to me through this whole process, great guy. He belongs to 3 gyms. He's a power lifter and very encouraging. I joined a gym. And I had 3 criteria, if I remember right, when I joined a gym. I wanted a gym where you could take classes. I wasn't ready for them at the time, but I wanted a gym where you could take biking classes or some type of fitness shred aerobics class, boxing class, whatever, some type of class at the gym. And I wanted a machine that would help you get started. I had dips in my head. I'm screwed up. Still had dips. I wanted a gym where I could do dips, a dip machine assist me to where I could do them myself. And I wanted a rowing machine. This gym has bicycle room, a movie bicycle room. It has a large turf area. It has a ton of Olympic weights, squatting, huge dumbbell racks, a ton of machines. And so I joined this gym. And when I went to this gym, I decided that if I drove during the day or from work, it's probably a 25-minute ride to this gym during normal traffic. But when I would work out in the morning, it would only take me 15 minutes to get to the gym in the morning when they unlock the doors at 4:45. And also, I didn't want to take time from work to go to the gym or my family. They say I sleep now and take naps anyways, or from riding motorcycles or working this property. So I said, I want to be there early in the morning, get my workout done, right? If you don't have enough time during the day, take that excuse, wake up earlier, go bed a little earlier, get to the gym in the morning, which I love, and so do the other people at the gym. So I joined this gym and I was on a mission. I was going to get in shape. My goal was 220 pounds to get in shape to ride this bike off-road and my other bikes. And I was determined to get to that weight, 220 pounds. Still was carrying, so I was 260, let's say 265, lose 40 pounds to get to 220. As much weight as I had lost, over 70 pounds, still I was big in my abdomen area and stomach. I joined Catalyst Gym in Amherst, and I went to the gym not talking to anyone in the morning. I said, I want to focus on what I have to do. And I worked out over an hour on machines, a little free weights at the time, over an hour on the machines. And then I would row for a half hour to 40 minutes. I would row. Not real fast, but I liked rowing because I thought it's going to help my core. Every stroke is working your legs. every stroke is working your arms and your back. Straighten your neck, Peter. Is working your back. I'm going to row at the gym. So work out for an hour and 15 minutes, row for 40 minutes. I went home. And my workouts, I was showing signs of improvement because I was at the gym. I had to try harder. I was focused at the gym. And other people at the gym who are in good shape, frankly, a lot of them, most of them, are watching me and I'm watching them. So, you know, I got to improve. People are looking at you. I'm looking at them. By the way, stealing workouts from people, copying what they're doing. And I started to show signs of improvement at the gym. And someone at the gym said, you go to the gym to feel good, but you win the battle. You fight the battle at the gym, but you win the war at the kitchen table. I can't tell you how true that is. Because I go to the gym to build muscle, because to burn calories at the gym, hopefully to burn fat. But when you leave the gym after lifting weights, your body continues to recover from that workout and burn calories and fat. Your body continues to do that. I've known that for decades, since I first started lifting weights. But if you combine, and again, a lifestyle change, if you combine working out, increasing your muscle mass with a better diet, a change in life, which I had already started, you're fighting the battle at two fronts. Maybe the most important front, what you're consuming in your mouth. I really started to feel better, and I really started to double down on my diet and start eating more. And I still was eating rice and some type of pasta, not every meal, but probably at least a couple times a week. I doubled down on my diet. The weight started to come off. The working out made me feel good. My posture's bad. I could see an improvement in my body. My stomach was starting to flatten out. And by the way, even 8 years ago, I started doing crunches. Every time I worked out in my home, I was doing crunches, or leg lifts I would do also. I started to see my body start to change. And then I thought it was stupid that, and I wasn't rude to people, but I wasn't talking to people. I thought it was stupid. I'm seeing most of these people every morning. We're waiting outside to unlock the door. I have to at least start saying good morning to them and hello and talk a little bit. And I could hear them talking about me. That was the real thing. In the line to get into the gym, I could, because I wasn't coming in like nasty, but I was so focused. I was so focused on my workout and my obsession, and it is an obsession, these motorcycles. I was so focused, I could hear comments, what's with this guy? You know, who is he? You know, I don't think they called me crazy, but I would have thought, now looking back on it, they probably thought I was crazy or in a mental condition. But I could hear them talking about me in the line, and because most of them would talk amongst themselves. And I said, you know what? Worse word than this, you're a jerk. So I started saying good morning, or talk about a football game, or talk about something. And knowing them helped motivate me even more at the gym to try harder. And the first friend I really started talking to at the gym was, and she works out, I think, 7 days a week for an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, was my friend, I call her my gym friend, Debbie, a sweetheart. And by the way, she's an inspiration herself and her workout ethic. I started to talk to her, and I started talking to her. Not only was she there every time, I was there, by the way, 6 days a week, 2 hours of workout, lifting weights, rowing, 6 days a week, not taking classes yet. And I started asking her about the classes because I could see her disappear after an hour or so. And I saw her in the classroom, either in the bike room going into it or in the shred aerobics room. And she is an awesome person and a friend to me at the gym. She encouraged me to start taking, I think I started with a bike class, and I was worried I couldn't even finish the class. And she said, you know, we don't judge you at the gym. By the way, I judge people at the gym. She said, we don't judge you at the gym, because I compare myself to everyone. And she said, we're not going to judge you at the gym. Go at your own pace. Focus on yourself in the class. You'll be fine. And that woman kept an eye on me. She knew I was a diabetic, I told her. She kept an eye on me and still does to this day after 2 years to make sure I'm okay. And I always feel better when she's at the gym. Tell my friends that. Thank you, Debbie. And I've had a couple glucose issues at the gym, at least one, and she came across the room to help me. I started with biking and liked it, struggled with it at first, but went at my own pace and then improved in biking. So started my third month at the gym, I was doing lifting weights for an hour and 15 minutes, then doing biking for 45 minutes, anywhere from 10 to 15 miles, depending on the instructor. And then I moved into, after a couple months, I wanted to go into the shred aerobics class. Biking was with, well, there was a man, but let's say Nicole, great bicycle spinning instructor, Nicole, very appreciative to her. And then I moved, I started doing biking, let's say Mondays, and then going into shred aerobics Wednesday, Thursday. My first shred aerobics class I went into, kind of concerned if I could do that, because as much as you lift weights, it's still not the same as doing that aerobic exercising, even though I was rowing. And I started in a shred aerobics class. It was actually kind of step aerobics, part of it. And Brandy was the instructor, who is Brandy. See if she watches the video. Brutal instructor. This woman, I won't give her age out, but she's at least a decade younger than me. That's as close as I get. Phenomenal shape. She just pounds you into the ground. Anyways, my first 2 minutes into the step aerobics, I pull a muscle on the back of my good knee. And they warned me, don't put too many lifts in your step. But 2 minutes into it, I pulled the muscle in my back leg, and I'm not going to quit. I was stubborn. I'm not going to quit the class. Debbie knew I was hurting and came over. Are you all right? Walked across the whole room to check on me. I'll make it. I'll finish. And I struggled through those shred aerobics classes. So this was my third month. I probably lost 10 pounds at the gym when I started. And then I gave up the machines probably that same month and just focused on free weights. I like free weights so much better because they don't hurt my joints and you get more of a workout, right? When you're benching on a machine, you're really just kind of working your chest. But when you're doing it with an Olympic bar or dumbbells, you're working more muscle groups because you have to stabilize that weight. Sound like I know what I'm talking about. And by the way, for men over 50 and women, but really men, please friends don't get upset, my women viewers, it is very tough to hang on the muscle when you get over 50, and it's very tough to build muscle. And I was trying to lose weight, cutting down my calories, and gain muscle, and that I can tell you is very hard to do. Very hard. Because you need carbs to have energy to work out at the gym, and it's a balancing act that I still have not perfected. So the weight started to come off. And after I want to say 8, 10, 11 months, I was down to 222. My target weight was 220. And I did a video where I'm reviewing my Husqvarna Norden at the dealership. So you should look for that video. And I would say in that video, I was probably 224, 226. I think I even say it in the video. So I'm 238 now. I was very close to my lightest weight in that video, and my wife was worried about me, and so were some of my friends. I was fatigued, weak, tired. I was pulling muscles. I pulled a tendon, pulling tendons. I hurt a tendon in my elbow. My shoulder I was having problems with. My knee was actually improving because I was strengthening my leg muscles. My wife was concerned, and so were my friends. And my waist probably looked much better than it is now, but they felt that I wasn't eating enough. I would come home and have just a glass of milk for dinner. I still struggle with eating, especially drinking and sodium intake. So I was down to 222. I think I touched 221, and I was not in a good place. And I talked to my doctor about it, and he asked me what I was doing for my workouts and what I was eating. And I told him how much sleep I was getting. I have a great doctor. And he said, you're suffering from malnutrition and sleep deprivation. By the way, I think my wife and other people agreed with it. I agreed with him. He put me on vitamin B because my vitamin B was low, and vitamin D. And I made a conscious effort to start eating more, which I still struggle with, eating more. And I really struggle with drinking enough water for anything, period. I struggle with that. I think it's part of long COVID, frankly, and age, and being obsessive compulsive. I didn't get to my goal. I was 2 pounds short of it. And I was getting weaker in my benching, not necessarily in shredder rope, the classes I was taking, or spinning, which is bicycling, but I was getting weaker lifting weights. I really focused on, listen to my doctor, eating more, really doubled down on protein and vegetables, eating more, but eating more better. Started buying Fairlife, I think it's called Fairlife milk, which I'd highly recommend, which has more protein in it, whole milk, and getting more sleep. And I gradually started to gain weight back. By the way, I'm on Mounjaro, right? You don't gain weight on Mounjaro. I started to gain weight back. I started to get stronger, and I started to feel better. I had less aches and pains. I wasn't pulling a tendon. I think I tore in my back. I think I said it in a video. I tore a muscle in my back and buttocks several times in the gym. Damaged my tendon in my elbow. It's still this from football and work and tennis and baseball. This elbow is screwed up. And the shoulder I never had surgery on. This one I did. My strength started to increase, and I started to feel better. I can tell you almost a year later at 238 that I am not pulling tendons, not damaging, hurting tendons as much or pulling muscles as much. My energy level is not what I think it should be, but I'm pretty good. I am better. I'll talk briefly about diabetic medicines that help you lose weight, like Mounjaro. They do help people lose weight. I'm sure they do. They've helped me with my cravings, I have to tell you. They probably helped me with my food cravings. This is me. I'm not talking for other people. This is me. And you should talk to your doctor before you do anything that I've said in this gym. I have to stipulate that in the beginning of the video. Talk to your doctor when you're changing your eating or your workouts or medicine. Don't listen to me. I'm telling you what I did. I'm being honest with you. You've asked for this. I'm sure diabetic medicines help some people lose weight. I can tell you a fact. I just gave you the whole timeline. Fact. I don't think I lost a pound taking diabetic medicine. I was taking it for several years and still was at that weight of 265, 268. I was taking it for 2 or 3 years and didn't lose. I maintained that weight. I didn't lose any weight. It was not, I lost, tell me how this makes sense. The truth, I lost 60 to 70 pounds on my own and then was diagnosed with diabetes. I can't explain what or why. I can explain how I lost that weight. That I know for a fact. I can't explain why I didn't lose weight when I was taking that medicine. I was consistent with a pretty good lifestyle change, but I did not lose weight. And I was exercising at the time, just taking that medicine. My biggest next weight loss was when I bought this bike, rode it off-road, and said I had to join a gym. And I joined a gym and worked out hard at it. 6 mornings a week, waking up at 10 to 4 in the morning, hour and 15 minutes of free weights, 45 minutes in a class, 6 days a week. I will tell you, there was a time period when I could not get Mounjaro. 3 months, almost 4 months, there was a shortage because all the people taking it from weight loss. I stopped taking both my diabetic medicines. Stopped. I was working out 6 days a week. I think this was a year ago. A little over a year ago. Stopped taking all my diabetic medicines. Checking my glucose every morning. Not only did I continue to lose weight, my sugar, my glucose was fine, and I was not going to go back on the diabetic medicine. 6 days a week I'm working out. Please remember that. But then I got sick. I got a lung illness, an infection that I think, if you watch some of my channels, that lasted for 6 weeks. And I struggled to go to the gym. It wasn't COVID. I struggled to go back to the gym. I was very weak. And I was on steroids for probably 6 weeks. I went to my doctor 3 times. I went to urgent care. I had lung x-rays. And in 6 weeks, I probably went to the gym twice. And then my sugar went crazy. When I got sick, in that 3 months, about 3 months out of taking no diabetic medicine, when I got sick, my blood sugar, my glucose started to spike. And that happens to diabetics, probably happens to everyone, but more serious with a diabetic is when you're sick or your body is, if you're stressed, emotional stress, if you injure yourself, if you get sick, that your sugar tends to become erratic. In my case, it spiked. And I tend to suffer not only from high sugar, but when I'm working hard, low sugar, glucose. So again, I was still losing weight up until I got sick, and then I didn't gain weight when I got sick, but I had to go back on that diabetic medicine. My point is, and I've seen this at the gym and outside the gym, it's kind of hard for me to talk about, but I have to talk about it. I've seen it in myself, I've experienced it, and I've seen other people at the gym when they really focus on getting shape and they lose a lot of weight where people give you a second look, right? Someone in my office said, wow, your physical change has been dramatic. And people criticize you for that, which I know some people do it because they care about you. That's great. They're worried about you. I know my wife was, and some of my family members and friends, but you know, you're getting too thin, right? I was 240 pounds and I had people telling me, you're going to get too thin. Stop going to the gym. You're working out too much. You're going to get too thin. You're going to look like you're going to blow away. Look, at 240 pounds, I looked like I was going to blow away. Even at 222 pounds, I didn't look like I was going to blow away. But people worry about you and they make comments. And one of the big things I've seen of late, if someone loses weight, other people automatically go to, they say they're on the needle, or they're taking Mounjaro or Trulicity or Ozempic. They're taking something to control their weight. And I think it diminishes the strides of people trying to lose weight who are trying to better themselves, right? They're trying to better themselves. I was trying to better themselves. I had a goal to ride a motorcycle, which my wife and son do not like at all. And some of my dear closest friends I love are upset with me that I got back to riding motorcycles. They're upset I was doing that, but that was my goal. It's now become an obsession, a passion of mine, and I'm living a dream now. If you lose weight, however you lose weight, whether it's from a diabetic medicine or a weight medicine, or you alter your life, you change your way of life, or you start exercising. And I hate to say it, some people lose weight because they get sick, seriously sick, and they keep it off. However you lose weight, it's important that you're comfortable with your body and you're happy with it. Don't let other people drag you down, criticizing you along the way. Because I had people lovingly, caringly do that. And I have to tell you, I want to say it hurt. It hurt and it bothered me. And it still bothers me when I see people do that to other people in the gym. I know they're caring when they say it. And other people on TV or around. And because it diminishes the efforts they're making to make themselves better. I'll ask all of you, I'm opinionated. My wife will tell you, my kids, I am so opinionated. And I probably am. But I will ask you this. When it comes to someone's physique and they're trying to lose weight, don't be so critical of it. Try to be supportive of it. We all should support each other, right? In one way or the other. And do we care how someone lost weight? Do we care? Do we care, really care? We should be happy for them. So, I really rambled on, didn't I? You guys asked for this video. I'm going to give it to you a full shot. Now you know everything about my weight loss journey. I have to thank some of my friends who keep me motivated at the gym. Of course, it starts with Debbie. Really, Debbie keeps an eye at me in the gym. So thank the friends that I have at the gym, which is a handful. Big thanks to Nicole with her spinning class. Huge thanks to Brandy and her shred aerobics. She's an animal. My friends Kitty and Christy in that class, and Sarah and Debbie who are in that class. Big thank you for them for motivating me with their fitness. Dawn was an excellent instructor. I'm doing yoga now, and I have to start back up with bicycle, but I dropped biking to do yoga. Dawn, I never thought I'd be taking yoga, and now I think I can't live without yoga. We'll talk a minute about yoga. So I lift for only an hour when I do yoga. Yoga kicks the crap out of me. Not only does it work all the muscles in my body, and a lot of balancing in yoga, which is great for motorcycle riding. Yoga is great. If you ride a motorcycle on the street or on the dirt, and I'm bad at riding this off-road on the dirt, you take yoga, it will help you 100% with motorcycle riding. My wife will be mad at Dawn, but I do yoga now and have to thank my instructor, Dawn. I have to say this, the women that are in the classes, spinning classes and yoga classes and shred aerobic classes, the instructors, but the women in the class are my age. Some of them are really younger than me, like Sarah. Some of them are older than me, although they don't look it, they look beautiful. Do not mess with those women. I lift probably more heavier dumbbell than they do now in the shred aerobics class, not much heavier. At the time I was lifting as much weight as they were. Some were lifting as much weight as I do. Do not mess with those women in those shred aerobics classes. I'm telling you, they are fit from their legs to their core, to their arms and body. Every time people ask me about the shred aerobic class, I tell them, don't mess with those women. Those women are in shape. They are in shape. They have my respect. anyone that works out consistently has my respect. Those women in that shred aerobics class, those women have my respect. I used to get anxiety about, a little bit of anxiety taking that class. Could I make it through Brandy's class? Because it was just a brutal workout. And believe me, after I lift and then go on her class, shred aerobics, my muscles are shredded. My muscles are shredded with or without weights. So ton of respect and thank you to all those trainers and the women in those classes. I have had some glucose issues, at least one class in shred aerobics where I think it was a combination. I've had dehydration at least twice and glucose and dehydration at least once, and my own stupid fault. And I try to keep my sugar up, to eat in the morning before I go to the gym something, a banana, and also a drink like Ensure and a glass of orange juice, and then keep drinking when I'm at the gym. I'm finding out now it's more important to drink fluids the day before you work out or the day before you ride motorcycles than just do it when you're at the gym. Felt bad I interrupted the class. It was stupid on my part. Should have just left. I struggle with dehydration, as I've said in the video where I tore my hamstring on my Honda CBR 1000 RRR, and still struggle with eating. We won't get any further into that. Benefits of working out. I think I've told you just about everything. I haven't told you my workout, what I do for workouts with free weights, but maybe that's another video. Benefits from working out is endless. These last 2 years, I used to get out of bed and my back would be tight. My back would be tight. I'd be limping with my knee, of course, bone on bone. I pop out of bed at 10 to 4 in the morning, almost every morning with no back issue. When I'm in bed with my wife, it has helped. Being in better shape has helped when I'm in bed with my wife, and I'll leave it at that. It's almost like I'm 30 years old again, and I won't elaborate on that much more than that, but I can tell you when I'm in bed with my wife, it's amazing. It's like I'm 30 years old again. I wasn't expecting that. I'm surprised by that. But and my wife is amazing, but it's me physically. It's like I'm 30 again. I'm saying that. She might not agree with you, but we'll leave it just as that. I still have my knee half bone on bone. I've been doing squats on the squat rack for the last 4 months every time I go to the gym. And I don't work out parts of my body every time I go, except for my legs on squats. That's the only true leg exercise I do outside of class. And my knee is doing phenomenally well. But I went 6 months without a gel injection, and it's all good. So right now I'm maintaining my knee. I was on a CPAP machine decades ago, and up until 2 years ago, I wasn't a mouthpiece for sleep apnea. With the weight loss and exercise, I don't need the mouthpiece anymore. So I don't need a sleep apnea machine, CPAP machine, I think they're called. I don't need that. I don't need a mouthpiece anymore. Occasionally I'm told I snore, but I really don't snore anymore. It's helped me with that. Again, I've told you that the diabetic medicine, I have to stay on the diabetic medicine, but it's really helped my diabetes. I am in a really good place with my diabetes. My A1C hovers below 5 and slightly above 5, 5.1 I think is the highest. Between the medicine and my exercising and diet, my diabetes is really good. I did this to ride motorcycles, right? And some of my friends are upset at the gym. Some of my friends are upset at the gym, and my friends outside of the gym, and of course my wife and son, are upset because I ride motorcycles. And it's helped immensely riding motorcycles. I have yet to ride this really off-road again. Maybe I'll do that before the snow flies. I'm not worried about it. I'll continue to work out and work towards where I can ride this beautiful machine off-road. By the way, it's a lot of fun on-road and around this property. It's really helped me fulfill my dream of riding motorcycles on the street, hopefully off-road, help my fitness with a bike. All of it has helped me fulfill my dream of riding a motorcycle again, and that was my motivation. Someone told me who was struggling to get to the gym, they said, Peter, we wish we had your motivation. They said they wish they had my motivation, my goal, like motorcycles, to get in the gym and watch what they eat. I'm a goal-orientated person. I'm probably obsessive compulsive person. Maybe not compulsive, but very obsessive. No doubt about that. But now I look at a motorcycle and I try to be cautious, and being fit helps me to be safer on a motorcycle, right? Where I'm more aware I can react quickly on a bike. So definitely being fit helps me to be safer on a bike. But I can tell you, motorcycles help me get into much better shape than I was in, and really have motivated me to continue exercising. And not only do I love when I'm on a motorcycle, being on a motorcycle, I'm living the dream. When I'm making videos about motorcycles in my garage, I'm enjoying it. When I'm working out at the gym, it's really, I look at it, I have to get through 2 hours of pain in the morning. The people I know at the gym, and I work out like someone I believe has a gun to my head, but I do talk and breaks with my friends at the gym. They make that 2 hours of pain at the gym bearable because we're enduring it together. And that's what I found working out at a gym. You're there with people who are like-minded with you, trying to get in shape. Man, have I been out here for 2 hours? I've been out here a long time. God knows how I'm going to edit this video down. So Marauders, you asked for this video, and I've done it. I don't know how I'm going to edit it down. It might be an hour-long video, but you've asked for it. I've shared, I think, everything I can with you on how I got to where I am. And I want to note, I'll say it again, please talk to your doctor. Please talk to your doctor before you start exercising, before you drastically change your diet. Make sure you stay under a doctor's care. I see my endocrinologist every 4 months, I believe, and my primary doctor at least once a year or more if I get sick. So make sure you see your doctor, especially if you're having problems like I did with my weakness, when you start exercising. Also, I want to caution you, this is my story I'm sharing with you. It's not a doctrine. I am not telling you what to do. I will tell you, even though I get, and I'm not bragging, comments how good I look, when I look at myself, most of the time I see imperfections in my body. I know I'm not good looking. I'm an old man. I know I'm not good looking. But when I look at my body, I see imperfections. So I'm not saying, hey, look at me. Look at how good I look, right? My friend Brian poses like this. I'm not saying, look at me, how good I look, because I think I look better. I am far from perfect, and I still see imperfections in my body that I don't know if I'll ever be correct them, but I'm always going to try. So please don't think that this is an ego trip for me, that look at me, I'm perfect, look what I did. I'm not doing that, because I still struggle. I still have to focus on my weight, my eating. I still have to focus on my workouts. I try to improve them. I've lightened my weights, water intake, relationships. So I'm far from perfect, but I'm sharing my story. And like when I share when I'm working on a piece of equipment or a motorcycle, repairing it or adding an accessory, I'm hoping maybe it will help you or maybe motivate you. Again, I won't say inspire, motivate. I don't know how many of you have made it to the end of this video. I didn't even get into how I tore my meniscus, but we'll leave, and working for the sheriff's office at the Bills game, that was a trip. I wish you all the happiness in the world. I've had many downs in my life, more highs than I deserve. And as I've said in other videos, I have been surrounded my entire life with beautiful, great people. My friends, starts with my parents, my siblings, my wife, my children, my friends at the gym and my trainers at the gym, and you, my subscribers and viewers. So I'm blessed. I hope all of you are blessed. I hope you get to whatever goal you have. I hope to see you on the trail. Ride safe and in peace. Thank you for watching this video. Please comment. You tell me I'm full of crap, whatever you want to tell me. Please comment. Give me your opinion. I should do a video just on the motorcycles. This bike is even fun. Even fun to ride on the street. This motorcycle, I can tell. Guys, come on. This motorcycle makes me feel like an adolescent again, right? And she's tall for me to get on. So thank you guys for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. Take care and God bless. I really need to grow up, don't I? Take care and God bless.